Muchas gracias. Voy a hablar en inglés porque la presentación así fue enviada en inglés. It's for me a great pleasure and an honor to be here representing the and making the passing through the presentation of the Convention on Biological Diversity while I work in the UNCCD Secretariat of the Convention to Combat Desertification. This is just an example of synergy in action. So first, let me talk about biodiversity in dry and subhumid lands and some facts and figures. For example, the Mediterranean basin contains 11,700 plant species that do not grow naturally anywhere else. The Karoo region contains the succulent flora, the most succulent flora on the earth. And here in Brazil, in Rio Grande do Norte, 452 brush and shrub species, plus 83 mammals and 270 birds and 44 reptiles have been identified as indigenous to that area. Dry and subhumid lands biodiversity in these areas provide the genetic sources of 1/3 of the plant derived drugs and available just in the United States. About 70% of the traditionally used wild plants in North Africa have the highly potential economic value. 44% of the world's cultivated systems are located in these areas. So more facts, 2,000 species are known right now to be threatened or endangered in dry and subhumid areas. And 15 dry and subhumid land species have already disappeared entirely from the world, completely extinct. And between 6 and 12 million square kilometers of dry and subhumid lands are currently affected by desertification. Now, what are the linkages between climate change, biodiversity in dry and subhumid lands? Well, ecosystems play terrestrial ecosystems play a key role in the global carbon cycle. About 2,500 gigatons of carbon is stored in terrestrial ecosystems. The loss of biodiversity in such ecosystem reduces the capability of this carbon storage, but it's also an opportunity that must be also tapped on. Ecosystem-based adaptation, as Margarita was just mentioned, which is also the basis of the CBD Convention, integrates the use of biodiversity with climate change ecosystem services in drylands. But drylands are particularly vulnerable. In grasslands, for example, the proportion of threatened mammals may increase by between 10 and 40% until the next 70 years. The Karoo region that we just spoke about, 2,800 plant species face the potential of extinction if temperatures, climate change-related temperatures increase between 1.5 to 2.7 degrees centigrade. And if temperatures increase more than that, 1.8 just in southern Europe, it is expected to lose between 60 and 80% of the current vegetable species. Now, talking more on the institutional side of the three Rio Conventions, the Convention on Biological Diversity, the Convention to Combat Desertification, and the Convention on Climate Change. These conventions have common objectives. The UNFCCC, the stabilization of greenhouse gases that are concentrated in the atmosphere and that hamper and that impact on sustainable development. The CBD, the conservation of biological diversity and the sustainable use of these resources. And the UNCCD, the convention that combat desertification and mitigate the impacts of drought effectively through sustainable development action. This call for synergies in the three Rio Conventions have been going on for some time at the institutional level. But in CBD 9 in Bonn in 2008 requested the Executive Secretary to enhance the cooperation and create more synergy among the Rio concerning biodiversity-related conventions, including the Convention to Combat Desertification and Climate Change. COP13 COP also reaffirmed the need to complement action, climate change-related action on adaptation and mitigation through cooperation with the other two conventions. The General Assembly, also, the Resolution 64, notes that there is a need for an enhanced cooperation among the three Rio Conventions while respecting their nature and individual mandates and responsibilities. And the Commission on Sustainable Development also has highlighted the need for synergies. And I am not mentioning the call for synergies on the UNCCD because the Executive Secretary is here and he will do the part of the UNCCD. But with the UNCCD, the CBD has, these two secretariats have joint work program. And this joint work program was welcome in COP7 of CBD, and it has 5 priority activities: assessment, development of assessment tools, the facilitation of consultations to the country parties, the promotion of regional and international, sub-regional, including sub-regional networks on biodiversity in drylands, support for policy development and public policies on a harmonized way, and the options for joint reporting. And we are working on these 5 areas. Now there is a proposal that CBD is launching also on the joint work program between the 3 Rio conventions. There are some thematic issues that have been being implemented over the last years. For example, the forest issues on the particular side, on the specific side, the issues of forestry, the issues of ecosystem-based adaptation, harmonized reporting, as I mentioned, joint research and monitoring, and also outreach and awareness raising on a jointly basis. And this is being done at each other's COPs and other international events. But in general, the purpose of this synergistic action is to show the benefits of, to demonstrate actually, to show the benefits on the common approaches and economies of scale, and also effectiveness of the implementation of the conventions. And the roadmap that it is in front of us for more operational synergistic action include the 3 COPs of the convention. The next one is the CBD COP, which is going to be in October in Nagoya, and there will be a promotion of the call for development of proposals on synergistic action. There are 2 opportunities in the climate change convention process. One is the COP in Cancun in December, and the other one in June, next June, in Bonn, on the meeting on the implementation bodies. Also to call for developing tools for synergistic action. The COP and the CRIC of the UNCCD, the CRIC that will be held next year, also represent an opportunity to develop these tools. But there are also other institutional mechanisms and tools available for this synergy to effectively happen. The Joint Liaison Group, which is a group of, an exchange group of the 3 executive secretaries that exchange and exchange information on their individual particular program of work. So the secretariats have also, the secretariat staff, like me, have the opportunity to compile information and on the activities that are common related to climate change and biodiversity in dryland ecosystems. There are also opportunities for creation of evidence-based research, joint expert groups on climate change and biodiversity, and also on the certification. And the roadmap targets this to make it operational by the second quarter of 2011. The awareness and interconnections of the 3 scientific bodies of the conventions also consider the proposals of having common expert groups in particular issues. and this could be also targeted after, at the end of next year. And of course, also participation in extraordinary sessions and conferences of the other parties. This is also tabled in the roadmap for adaptation measures in drylands and within the consideration of biodiversity. This is an ongoing activity or action that will is starting now and towards with the aim at 2012 in the Earth Summit. And with this, I thank you for your attention.